day, friends, it's Crypto Kraut, and today we're going to have a look at the new feature on Alpaca Finance, which is AUSD. So Alpaca Finance is a platform that allows you to do leveraged yield farming. You can lend out your assets for a decent APY. You can open positions with enough leverage that allows you to basically long or short assets in that position. And now the newest addition is AUSD. So we'll have a look at what you can do with it, how it works, what the risks are, what the benefits are. So let's dive right into it. To navigate there, we want to launch the app. And we also want to make sure that we are connected. Alpaca Finance is running on the Binance Smart Chain. At the first thing, we're going to have a look at the available lending pools. So if you're using AUSD, or to be more precise, if you are borrowing AUSD, what happens is that you deposit one of these assets into the lending pools, and that allows you to take on debt against your collateral in the lending pools, to the effect that your collateral is earning interest, and that interest exceeds what you are paying as a borrowing fee. So basically, this allows you to have an over-collateralized loan that earns you interest instead of you having to pay interest on your loan. If we are moving here to the AUSD tab, I'll just read it out. It's a pretty brief description and very on point. AUSD is an auto-farming stablecoin that earns passive yields for you in the background. Now, instead of paying for loans, you can get loans while earning on your collateral. AUSD is over-collateralized, decentralized, and reinforced with multi-layered pegging mechanisms so that it does the one thing that stablecoins are supposed to do: remain stable at $1. If you are already lending at Alpaca, you can mint AUSD at no cost by opening a position below. Yeah, so that sums it up pretty well. We can see that I have one open position here. And we will just click here on open position to have a deeper look at how this works. So I'll briefly go over all these things here and explain what they mean. So collateral locked, that is the amount of dollars that is used as a collateral. In the case of BUSD, which is currently the only option to borrow against, your BUSD is converted to interest-bearing BUSD, which basically just means that your BUSD are deposited in the Alpaca lending pool, after which you are returned IB BUSD. So if you were to open the position with $9,011 and we were to borrow the max amount, this would mean that our $9,111 are converted to $8,387. So I'll briefly explain the discrepancy here. If you are converting your dollars into IB BUSD, which basically just means you put them in the lending pool, the amount of IB BUSD you receive back will be smaller than what you put in. That is for the reason that the mechanism with which IBUSD accrues value is that every block it becomes a little bit more expensive in terms of BUSD. So the amount of BUSD you were to receive back if you redeem it, it will always increase. Hence the price of IBUSD will always rise against BUSD. Now, if you were to borrow the maximum amount, we could also withdraw a little bit of our collateral, but that would move us closer to liquidation. We can see the amount that we are able to borrow. That is the same amount as we can see here. And we can also see that we could borrow more AUSD on top of that. So if we were to do this whole thing again, it would allow us to click this button here, and 227 AUSD would become available for additional borrowing. The debt ratio is 87%. So that just means that if we put in $100, we were able to borrow $87. And that is the safety buffer. So the safety buffer is how close we are from getting liquidated. Of course, if you're borrowing money, the system wants to make sure that lenders are not in danger of accruing bad debt. So if that is going to zero, a part of your position would be sold off to cover any outstanding debt. Now, this is the liquidation price, and it is calculated in IB/BUSD. IB/BUSD is currently worth $1.08. So we could roughly lose 3 cents of value here, and that would move us to liquidation. We'll have a deeper look at all the mechanics involving the liquidation in a bit. And we can see here the lending APR. So we would be earning 6.32% on our collateral, and we would also earn 0.45% in Alpaca on our collateral. The stability fee is the borrowing fee, so we have to deduct that, and that would land us at a total APR, which is 3.03%. And in APY terms, so annualized, if we were to convert our Alpaca into more IB/BUSD, that would bump up the APY a little bit, negligible amount. So the total APY for opening this position would be 5.15%. So that is the amount that we would earn on our collateral minus the stability fee which we pay for borrowing. So here we are looking at the AUSD Medium article, and if we're scrolling down to the relevant point here for liquidation, we can see that gentle liquidation is used, which means that only 25% of our position is closed to cover any outstanding debt. So you're not getting completely wrecked on your position if BUSD should drop. Instead, only 25% of your position is closed, which means that BUSD is bought with an unfavorable rate for you. But since only 25% of your position is being closed, it means that you're only losing a little bit. So let's talk about when are you in risk of getting liquidated and when is your position getting safer, so moving farther away from getting liquidated. So in this example here, IB/BUSD is our collateral. So if our collateral value drops in price, that means that we are moving closer to liquidation. So IB/BUSD is not traded anywhere. So it will always just keep going up in price. There is no chance for anybody to dump IB/BUSD, currently at least, because there is no liquidity where it can be traded. So if somebody opened a pool and deposited IB/BUSD and a bunch of BUSD and then tried to dump it, well, maybe that would work, but that would also have to require Alpaca to take that pool into consideration. That is not the case. So this basically means that as long as nothing unforeseen happens, I'm not even sure what could trigger this, you are basically unliquidatable. So that's pretty nice. The next thing that is making sure that you're moving farther away from liquidation is that IB/BUSD rises in value. And this is always the case. Every block, the price of IB/BUSD gets a little bit higher. So yeah, this is a very robust system that protects you from getting liquidated. And therefore you can click Save Max to borrow any amount that you want. I would deem it very safe. And even if something unforeseen would happen, again, only 25% of your position would get liquidated. That would mean that IB/BUSD is converted for AUSD to repay your debt. And again, I can't think of any scenario in which that would happen. Going back to the documents, we can also see that there will be an insurance plan that launches, which is basically protecting the protocol from accruing bad debt. There is the high-level diagram going into a little bit more detail on how AUSD works and what all the safeguards in place are. Now, the launch sequence, we'll have a look at this. We can see that IB/BUSD is the first collateral that is being added with a bunch of other features here. And Additionally, starting from December 27th, we can see that the stable swap module will come in place with the flash mint module, and we'll have a look at what this entails. Okay, when opening the docs, we can see that there is a very nice graphic and explanation of the stable swap module. And so when we're opening the docs, we can see that there is a nice explanation and infograph of the flash mint module and the stable swap module. Basically, this will allow you, starting from December the 27th, to do all these things with just one click of a button, and it will allow you to profit whenever AUSD is above $1 and below $1. So in case that AUSD is going above $1, it will go as the following. The AUSD arbitrageur, that is a very tough word for Germans, flash mints AUSD through the flash mint module. On the next step, the AUSD arbitrageur receives AUSD from the flash mint module. The AUSD arbitrageur then swaps AUSD to BUSD through PancakeSwap's AUSD BUSD pool. Since AUSD is now worth more than 1 BUSD, the arbitrageur receives more BUSD than the original amount of AUSD he minted. The AUSD arbitrageur then uses Alpaca's stable swap module to swap BUSD to AUSD at a 1-to-1 ratio. And on the next step, the discrepancy between what he minted and what he repaid, well, that's finders keepers. So the arbitrageur gets to keep that difference. And it works similarly if AUSD is dropping below $1. So in this case, the arbitrageur performs a flash swap by borrowing underpriced AUSD from PancakeSwap. Then receives AUSD, well, from that swap, he swaps AUSD to BUSD at a 1-to-1 ratio, and again, he gets to keep the difference. So this model has a very good incentive for people to constantly monitor the price. Whenever there is a discrepancy between AUSD and its dollar pack, you can make money with the click of a button. If you have a lot of money, you can make decent money even if the discrepancy is ever so tiny. So this is a very good way of ensuring that AUSD is actually staying at $1. Now, after going over the technicals and the risks and explaining when you are at danger of getting liquidated, the next thing you want to do is look at what can you actually do with AUSD. Why should you participate? Now, the arbitrageurs, we already covered that. They are incentivized to keep AUSD at peg. And if you buy or borrow AUSD, you can pool it here in the staking section of Alpaca for a nice APY of 11%. So 12%, that's the APY. So that is pretty nice. But of course, using AUSD is not only beneficial to people using the lending pool within Alpaca to lever up your position there. You could also use your AUSD to buy Bitcoin or any shitcoin that you want, even if it goes to zero or you lose your Bitcoin. In a long enough time frame, you will still be fine as your loan basically is repaying itself. Over time, you are able to withdraw an increasing amount of BUSD since your collateral is accruing interest. And that is also beneficial to you if the lending pool utilization is going up. We'll have a look here. Because the APR that your collateral is earning is affected by the utilization here. So currently we can see it is sitting at 48%. If that goes up to over 90%, your interest will also shoot up. Over 90% utilization, you will be earning a whopping 150% on your collateral, and that will make for a pretty quick repayment of your loan. So make sure to tell your friends to use Alpaca Finance because we want that API to be a little bit higher, I guess. Going back to the docs, we can see that there is also a larger benefit even for AUSD position owners. So if you're borrowing AUSD against your collateral and you were to sell it back for BUSD via PancakeSwap, you could add those BUSD as collateral in your existing borrowing position and borrow more AUSD. Now, this would increasingly add to your collateral. And since your collateral is earning roughly 5% APY, the more collateral you put in, the higher your amount of money is that you earn. So if you were to loop this process, you can get up to roughly 6 times the amount that you originally put in. I will be attaching an Excel sheet to this video so that you can put in the numbers, and I'll briefly explain the Excel sheet now as well. As an AUSD borrower, the benefit is that you can lever up the amount of funds that you're putting in the lending pool, and therefore you can earn APY on more assets in the lending pool. Okay, so this is the Excel sheet from my valued friend Nikita from Alpaca Finance. He put in the functions already, so all you have to do really is to change this amount and the rest will pop up. If we're starting with a BUSD amount of $50,000, the next thing that is calculated is the IB BUSD amount that we receive for depositing it into the lending pool. Again, you're not losing any money here. It is just that there is a conversion rate from BUSD to IB BUSD. And if you were to redeem your IB BUSD back to BUSD, then you would have more BUSD. So that will always work out in your favor. You cannot lose money by converting BUSD to IB BUSD because it is just a receipt of you having deposited into the lending pool and that you are now accruing interest. The next field is the AUSD amount that we are able to mint from our IBBUSD collateral. Yeah, that's getting a little bit complicated with the USD terms here. So this is the current conversion rate. If we were to deposit BUSD into the lending pool, how much IBBUSD are we going to receive back? This is the AUSD LTV, which stands for loan to value. Basically, that describes how much of your collateral can you borrow as AUSD, which is 90%. The minimum borrow is 500 AUSD. You can't borrow less than that. You are free to borrow more than that. This field here describes how much BUSD we end up with if we are maxing out the leverage. This basically means if we loop the process of collateralizing BUSD to borrow AUSD, sell AUSD for BUSD on PancakeSwap, put that BUSD back in our position as collateral so that we can borrow more AUSD. After repeating that process for the maximum amount of times, that will land us at roughly a little bit over $250,000. If we are starting out with $50,000 as a start capital. And that would put us at a total leverage of 5.79. $50,000 times this leverage equals this amount of BUSD that we are using as collateral. If we're starting out with $50,000, we can see that we had to repeat the process 27 times to get to the leverage of 5.7. We cannot do it one more time after that because the minimum borrowing amount is always 500. So yeah, okay, so this step would already not be possible anymore because we have to borrow at least 500 AUSD. So I'll offer up this file here for download. I'll attach it to the description. Yeah, I hope this is a good oversight for you in AUSD, what you can do with it, what are the risks associated with it. As time goes by and more collateral and features are going to be added to this, I'll be sure to cover it. But yeah, this should serve as an oversight, and hopefully as a result of that, we can keep the upcoming videos a little bit shorter. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. See you around. Make sure to join my Telegram.